If I were to sum up what if analysis, I would say most of the time it is used to calculate differences in data. Now, if you were to go anywhere online and look for a tutorial with regard to this subject, more than likely the instructor will use some type of loan with some type of fluctuating rate interest to show you how it works. That's exactly what I am going to do with this first example before I move on to some other examples. So I have already given you sort of general overview of what the what if analysis can do for you. So let's just jump straight into this now and I'll show you how to use it. So this is the scenario. We have this loan here of £25,000 with a starting interest rate of 3.8% and it ends at 7.61%. And you can see this in this table here. We have a slight increment on a monthly basis. So I would like to use what if analysis to work out how much my monthly payments are going to be with these increments in interest rates. So the first thing you need to do to use what if analysis is you need to find out what the initial payments are. And we can find out this answer using the payment function. So with your cell here, click on insert function, type in PMT, click go and click OK. And now we can plug in our figures. So first of all, we need the rate and that's going to be this 3.8%. Click F4 to make it absolute because it needs to stay still. And we need to divide it by 12 because we want the monthly payments. Then there's a number of periods, which is this figure here. And this needs to be absolute as well. And it doesn't need to be multiplied by 12 because it's already in months. If we were dealing with years and we wanted to find out what our monthly payments were going to be, then at this point I would want to multiply this by 12. But it's already in months, so we don't need to do anything. The present value of the loan will be negative £25,000 here and we'll make it absolute by clicking F4. The future value will be 0 because the loan will be paid off, and this is optional. You don't need to put in anything in this box. And same with this one here. This is also optional. This is just asking you is the payment is going to be at the beginning or end of the month. Typically it's not really used. So with this particular example, I'm going to leave it blank and we'll click OK to that. So I have my answer here. Now we can move on to using what if analysis to fill in the rest of these cells. So to get started with this, I'll select the whole table, come to data. Here is what if analysis and one you want is data table. This box will show up and it is asking for row input cell and column input cell. At the moment we are only dealing with data in a column, and in the next example we'll use both. What we need to put in this input here is the starting rate, so we'll just click on that, and as you can see it's been made absolute all by itself, and we'll just click OK, and all of these figures have filled in. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to use what if analysis without actually using it. Sometimes it's not necessary to use what if analysis. You can just use autofill. But it really depends on the scenario that you are working with. But of course, I still need to work out what my initial payments is going to be. This time I'm going to type it out manually. So I'll start off my PMT function like that, and I'll go to the rate because it's asking me for the rate. Now because we will be using autofill, we need to select the rate from the column here and not from the table on the left. And also we don't want to make it absolute. We need it to stay as a relative reference. If we don't do this, then the autofill will not work the way we want it to work. but I still need to divide it by 12 because we want to find monthly payments. The comma will go in, and now it is asking us for the number of period. This will still come from this table here, and I'll make it absolute by clicking F4. Now we'll put in a comma. Next is going to be the present value, which comes from here. First we have to make it negative and then select this and press F4 to make it absolute. Comma will go in and future value will be 0 because at the end of the period it will be paid off. And I'll just go ahead and close that off and press enter. And using autofill, I'll just click hold and drag it down the column like this. As you can see, we have ended up with the exact same answers. Okay, so let's look at what if analysis in a different type of table. So, a table that has multiple columns and multiple rows. So, the scenario with this is we have, of course, our incremental interest rates going up on a monthly basis. And we also have these different loan amounts going down the column. So, what I would like to do is to use what if analysis to fill in this whole table in one go and find out how much my payments are going to go up for each of these different loan amounts. So as you already know, you have to work out what the initial payments will be. And when it comes to a table like this, the answer has to go up here at the top left. Now to be honest with you, I don't use what if analysis very often. But I do remember when I was taught with this, one of the first things the instructor told me was the initial answer needs to go up here at the top left. It can't go anywhere else in the spreadsheet. And you can try that. You can put the answer here or wherever, but it's still not going to work. So the answer needs to go here. So let's find out what the payment is going to be. And of course, we are going to use the payment function to do this. So insert function, type PMT, go, click OK. And now the rate is going to be the starting rate, that is 3.3% here. And we need to make it absolute and also divide it by 12 because we want to find out the monthly payments. The number of periods is in months, so I'll select it from here and make it absolute by clicking F4. And it doesn't need to be divided by 12 because, like I said, it's already in months. The future value is negative 9,000 pounds, which can be taken from here, and we'll make it absolute by clicking at F4. The future value will be 0, and we'll click OK to that, and there's my answer. Now at this point, all I need is to select my table like this, and I can go back to the what if analysis by coming to the data tab here and what if analysis data table. Now because we are dealing with both rows and columns, we will fill both of these inputs here. So starting with the row input cell, if I were to ask you what do you think would go in the row input cell? Well, as you can see, we have our interest rate in rows. So I would need to get my starting interest rate, which is going to be this here. Now you may ask me, why don't you choose the 3.3% from this cell here? Well, what if analysis is clever enough to know that when I reference this 3.3% here, it knows that I'm talking about this cell here. Next, I'm going to put in the column input cell. So what do you think would go in here? This would be the loan amount because as you can see, our loan amount are in columns. So I'll select the initial loan amount, which is also the first amount, the first loan amount. Now we can click OK. Here in our table you can see the hash markings, but yeah, when you will do this you will not get these hash markings. So for that we will go to the home tab and then click on format and then click on auto fit column width. So yeah, here in one go we have our whole table filled in with our various amounts that take the various interest rate into consideration. Now you may ask why this table here. Basically, I just created this just to show you that this is still accurate. And that would be the first row here, row 11. You can see the figures are exactly the same. So that's just a point of reference that you can use.